They say it's not the fall that kills you, it's the sudden stop at the bottom. But for me, it wasn't the fall. It was watching him fall. I used to be fearless, the kind of kid who'd climb the tallest tree in the neighborhood just to watch the sunset. I'd sit on the roof of the shed, legs dangling, pretending I was a hawk, gliding over the world. I had a good life, better than most. And it was all because of my dad, Jack Delaney. He was a steelworker, not just any steelworker. He was a legend around Wilmar's Hollow, the kind of man who could walk a girder 100 feet up like it was a sidewalk. No harness, no fear. He wasn't reckless though. He was careful, focused, strong. The kind of strong that made you feel safe just being around him. But the real strength, that was in how he treated me and the way he treated Mom. He was a family man, the kind you don't see around very often anymore, the kind of dad most kids wish they had. He was my hero. Every Saturday was our day. We'd fish in the creek, work on his motorcycle, toss the pigskin, or build something out of scrap wood. He'd ruffle my hair, call me champ, and tell me stories about the towers he used to climb.
Height's just a number, Aaron. What matters is where you're standing when you look out.
I believed him, every word, because when I was with him, I wasn't afraid of anything. Not until Brightwood Lookout. It was early spring, crisp air, birds waking up the hills. Dad woke me up at dawn, packed a thermos of cocoa for me, his usual black coffee for himself, and said he had a surprise. We drove 2 hours into the Appalachians, down a gravel road that hadn't seen a car in decades. There, rising above the fog and trees, was a wooden tower, old, forgotten, but still standing tall.
Used to be a fire watch post,
He said, smiling.
Thought we'd see how the world looks from the top.
It was weathered, 30, maybe 40 feet tall, creaked in the breeze like it had its own lungs. I felt a twinge in my stomach the moment I looked up. Not fear, just unease.
Imagine the look on your mom's face when we tell her we climbed that. It looks pretty safe, but we don't have to.
He said gently, reading my face.
But I think you'll be glad you did.
I nodded, trusted him, because if Dad said it was safe, it was. The climb wasn't long. The ladder swayed a bit, boards groaned under our boots, but Dad kept talking, distracting me, telling jokes, pointing out birds in the trees below. When we got to the top, it was beautiful. Endless hills rolling into the horizon, rivers like silver veins cutting through green. I remember thinking it looked like the whole world was asleep, and we were the only two awake. Just me and my dad. I was so happy when it was just me and him. Dad stood behind me, hands on my shoulders.
This is what it means to be above it all, Aaron. Brave men stand tall.
Then it happened. I stepped back without looking. My foot hit a soft board near the edge. It snapped clean through, and I stumbled. He caught me, one hand on my chest, the other gripping my arm, pulled me back, saved me. But momentum's a cruel thing. He lost his balance. I grabbed for him, but all I caught was air. He fell backwards, over the railing, 30 feet straight down. I remember the sound his body made when it hit the ground. I remember the stillness that followed. I remember screaming until my throat bled. They said he died instantly. I stayed on that tower for 4 hours, frozen, knees locked, rocking back and forth like I was trying to erase the moment by moving through time. After that, I couldn't even climb a step stool. Something inside me broke. I never went to the funeral, couldn't face the coffin. Couldn't even face the stairs at the church. People said I'd get over it. Trauma heals, they told me. You just need time. But trauma doesn't heal. It festers. It grows roots in the parts of you that were supposed to hold you up. By the time I turned 24, I was living in a basement apartment, doing remote IT work, keeping my feet firmly planted 6 feet below street level. I hadn't climbed anything higher than my mattress in years. My dad's photos were boxed up, his hard hat he used to let me wear, and his gloves, all tucked away in a storage unit I hadn't visited in over a decade. I told myself I was fine, but I wasn't, because every few months, I'd see the tower again, in my dreams, rising into a black sky, no end, no stars, just that endless metal skeleton and a creepy voice whispering,
"Come back, you owe us."
I'd wake up shaking, drenched in sweat, convinced I could still feel the wind in my face from 30 feet up. But nothing prepared me for what showed up next. An envelope, no return address, thick black paper, wax seal in the shape of an open eye. Inside, a note. Face it, Tower 6, midnight, come alone. And a photo, an old grainy picture of a rusted tower, tall as sin, poking above the treetops like a skeleton finger. On the back, in shaky handwriting, just like your father. The road to Tower 6 wasn't on any map. I tried punching it into GPS. Nothing. Tried asking around. No one had even heard of it. Not in the ranger station. Not in the diner off Route 12. Not even on the weird forums where people talk about haunted places and cryptid sightings.
Figures,
I said out loud, but I found it anyway. It was like my hands already knew where to drive. 3 hours past the last gas station, an unmarked trailhead barely visible between 2 pines. No signs, no warning, just a rusted gate hanging open like a broken jaw. I parked in the same spot me and Dad parked all those years ago.
I miss you so much, Dad.
I said to myself. I started my walk to the tower. I noticed the trees here didn't move. Not with wind, not with birds, not with time. It felt like stepping into a painting. Silent, color drained, and wrong. Every few steps, I thought I heard something behind me. Breath, footsteps, my name. But when I turned around, I was always alone. Until I wasn't. Tower 6 appeared like a wound in the tree line. It wasn't like Brightwood. It wasn't even like anything. This thing stretched up, higher than the treetops, higher than the clouds, higher than it should have been allowed to. Steel bones, black with rust, blotting out the moonlight. A ladder running all the way up, too narrow for comfort, with rungs bent like fingers. No platform, no cabin, just level after level of skeletal metal. Like someone had started building a firewatch tower and never stopped. The photo hadn't done it justice. Standing beneath it, I felt like a mouse looking up at a cathedral made for giants. And then I saw it, the hard hat, my dad's, hanging from the first rung.
What the hell?
It was the same one he used to wear, same dent on the side, same faded sticker of an eagle with Delaney Steel Local 212, barely legible, impossible, but real. I touched it, and it was warm, like someone was just wearing it.
Put it on, champ.
Dad, is that you?
No response. So I figured he must have brought me out here to overcome my fear. But how? Hez, dead. The first 10 feet were easy. My hands remembered the rhythm, muscle memory, from childhood climbing trees and rafters. But around 15 feet up, the air changed. Thinner, wet with static. The forest vanished below, like fog swallowing it whole. I looked down and couldn't see my car. Couldn't even see the ground, just mist, endless and shifting. I almost climbed back down. Almost. But then I heard it again.
Champ.
Software, far away, like someone whispering through a fan.
Dad?
I kept going. The higher I climbed, the less sense things made. I passed a crow nailed to a rung, wings spread, eyes still blinking. A Polaroid fluttered down past my head. Me, age 6, sitting on Dad's shoulders, both of us laughing. I didn't remember the photo being taken. Another 30 feet up, there was a door, just a door, hanging midair, unattached to anything. It opened when I touched it, and led to the next section of ladder somehow. My hands shook the whole time I climbed through. Every 100 feet or so I'd stop and catch my breath. Each time, I heard something new. Children laughing, nails tapping, someone sobbing, close, but just out of sight. Once, I looked down and saw myself on the ground, standing still, looking up, except that version of me had no face. I screamed. The echo came from above. At what must have been 300 feet, I found a landing. Real wood this time. A platform with a chair and someone sitting in it. I froze. Dad? The figure didn't turn, just kept looking out over the edge. The wind howled, but nothing moved. I stepped closer. My boots thudded on the wood like drums in a crypt.
Dad, is it you?
The thing in the chair moved. Slowly, twitched its head like a broken marionette. When it turned, I saw it wasn't my father. It was me. Burned, twisted, mouth stitched shut. Its eyes opened, and they were begging. I backed away. It reached for me. I ran, back to the ladder, higher, anywhere but there. I don't know how long I climbed. Hours, days. My hands bled. My lungs felt like shredded paper, but the top never came. Until it did. One more platform. Bare, circular, surrounded by nothing but black sky and wind that sounded like screaming. In the center, a mirror. Just that. A tall, full-length mirror, standing upright. My reflection in it. I stepped forward and saw him, my father. He stood behind me in the reflection. But when I turned, no one. When I looked back, he was closer. I closed my eyes.
It wasn't your fault.
I whispered. I wanted to believe it. But the reflection smiled.
You let go.
I shattered the mirror. Or maybe it shattered me. Either way, the glass sprayed out into the dark, caught by the wind, glittering like stars. Then the platform gave way beneath me, and I fell. I woke up at the base of the tower. No wounds, no blood, just dirt in my mouth and splinters in my palms. The tower was gone. No steel, no ladder, no forest around it, just flat earth and silence. But I still had the hard hat, clutched in my hands, and on the inside, scratched into the lining, were the words, "One more step." I didn't talk for 2 days after I got back. Didn't eat. Didn't sleep. Just sat on the floor of my apartment with the lights off, holding my dad's hard hat and waiting for something, anything, to make sense. Nothing did, because the tower was gone, like it had never been there. No photos on my phone, no GPS coordinates, just the hard hat and the memory of falling, of seeing myself in that mirror, of hearing that voice whisper what I'd never said out loud.
You let go.
On the third night, I heard scratching at my door. I live on the basement level. No one ever knocks. But this wasn't knocking. This was claws. When I opened the door, there was nothing there. Just a package, wrapped in wax paper, sealed with that same open eye. No name, no return address. Inside, a cassette tape, labeled in black marker, Tower 6, Interview 42. I don't own a cassette player, but one showed up on my kitchen counter the next morning, still plugged in, still warm, like someone had just used it. I played the tape. It was audio, a woman's voice.
I saw them on the ladder, hanging there. People I knew, people I lost. My sister was on the 5th rung, but she drowned when I was 10. She smiled at me, said, "Keep climbing." I didn't want to, but I did. I couldn't stop.
There was a long pause. Static.
They say the tower builds itself from your fear, that it watches, that it feeds. You don't climb it, you descend into it, even while going up. It makes you see what breaks you. It doesn't want you to fall, it wants you to jump.
That was it. I rewound it, listened again and again, until I heard something buried under the static. Faint. A whisper.
Aaron.
That night I dreamed I was back in my childhood bedroom, except the ceiling was gone. Just an open shaft of black metal stretching upward forever. The bed was bolted to the wall, and the walls themselves were melting, oozing photographs of people I'd forgotten. My mother, a neighbor, a classmate who died in a car crash in 9th grade. Each one staring at me with hollow eyes, each one mouthing the same phrase, "It's your fault." I woke up screaming, and the hard hat was gone. I couldn't stay underground anymore. The apartment started to feel smaller, tighter, like the walls were leaning in when I wasn't looking. I tried sleeping outside, in the car, on a park bench. But no matter where I went, I heard it. The creak of old boards, the wind between steel beams, that voice.
One more step.
It wasn't just about heights anymore. It was about being watched, about being pulled. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt the rungs pressing into my hands, the vertigo, the voice, and then came the peeling. Skin on my palms, peeling away like bark from a dead tree. Underneath, rust. I went back to Brightwood Lookout. I don't know why. Maybe to make it all stop. Maybe to find the beginning again. But when I got there, the tower wasn't in ruins anymore. It was pristine. Fresh wood, painted railings, clean glass on the windows, like it had been rebuilt for me. There was a note pinned to the bottom rung, in my dad's handwriting. "You're almost there." I climbed. This time I didn't stop, even when the air grew thin, even when the trees below bent into impossible shapes, even when the sky turned a deep, oily red and the stars began to pulse like open eyes. Each level was a different fear. Heights, yes, but also drowning, ankle-deep water that rose with each rung. Then insects, centipedes crawling along the metal, clicking. Then mirrors, dozens of them, showing me versions of myself I didn't recognize. Old, mutilated, empty. On the final platform there was a chair and a noose, and sitting beneath it, my father. Not a ghost, not a hallucination. Him, alive, wearing the hard hat, smiling like nothing had ever gone wrong.
Proud of you, champ.
He said.
Took you long enough.
I fell to my knees.
I don't understand. Why are you here?
He stood, walked over, knees cracking like old wood.
Because you are.
He said,
This tower? It's not real, but it's yours. You built it, one rung at a time. Every fear, every memory, every time you looked away instead of facing it.
He leaned in.
This is your inheritance.
I looked at the noose, then at him, then at the sky, which had split open into 1,000 blinking eyes.
What happens if I jump?
He shrugged.
You fall.
What happens if I don't?
He smiled.
You climb.
I stepped onto the railing and felt the wind. I closed my eyes, and I let go. They found my car on a gravel road near Brightwood Lookout. Engine off, door cracked open, my dad's hard hat sitting in the passenger seat. Nobody saw me go up the trail. Nobody saw me come back down, because I didn't. They'll tell you I vanished, that I got lost in the fog, maybe fell, maybe ran. But the truth is simpler. I went back to where it happened, the place where I lost him, my best friend, my father. I climbed that tower, not the one from the photos, not the one with rotted boards and rusty nails, the real one, the one that waits for you when your fear festers long enough to take shape. I saw him again, not a ghost, not a memory, just him at the top. He smiled like he used to, called me champ, and I knew this wasn't about facing fear anymore. It was about going where he went. They won't find my body. There won't be a note, just the sound of wood creaking in the night. And sometimes, if you're quiet, if you're standing at the base of that tower and you really listen, you'll hear us up there. Two voices, one calm, one laughing, still above it all, still climbing.